Hello, everyone. Back today, and this is a tough one. I I knew we had to address this at some point. Oh, I'm joined by Shayla Brown. If you're listening and you can't actually see her being on the screen, I this is gonna be a tough one. I knew I was gonna have to address it. I haven't even looked at some of the comments in the videos yet, just to see, because I guarantee you, there's people who are coming back to revisit them, to laugh at me. I need to, get out in front of this, and I think we both need to address this. Um, I think I'm gonna take a very angry tone. I think that is gonna be how I have to rationalize this. But there is a Rolling Stones article which I do want to talk about. And I'll don't worry, I'll give you a chance to speak in a second. I just got to get a few things off.
Go ahead.
So there was an amazing Rolling Stones article, which started this kind of conversation about real Star Wars. That's something we talk about. I think every time we talk, some version of what is real Star Wars comes up, right? And there's this tweet that they attach in the article, and I'll put the whole article in the description, but the tweet from this person who I can't say the name, but whatever. The worst part about the Acolyte being canceled isn't the cancellation itself, but knowing exactly which part of the Star Wars fan base Disney listened to in order to go ahead with this decision. Stop caving to pressure and stand your ground if you've made something bold for once. I think that really sums up what this is, because we understand why it was canceled, because I read the comments of the videos that we made about the Acolyte.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, even the debate I had with the guy who was angry at the Acolyte, he never was angry about anything in particular outside of the fact that, like, there are these ideas that the Jedi, that this can't be Star Wars if the Jedi are black, or if whatever, they're women or whatever, right? Like, that was always the issue. There was never any substantial like critique of the plot, and there were things we would talk about, but the primary critique that I kept seeing was, well, it's diversity can't be in Star Wars. And that's the fundamental problem that we are having, and that's why this is such a mistake. Regardless of everything, it was, at least at the minimum, it was a good show, and I think we both thought it was a really good show, one of the best Star Wars shows we've gotten. And the fact that they caved because of the hate and the anger is a little bit disappointing, and by disappointing, I mean infuriating, by Disney. Okay, now with that being said, how are you feeling about this, Shayla?
Annoyed and just like, what's the point of like releasing new shows anymore? Like, if this could just happen, if this could just happen to one of the biggest corporations, like I'm sure that Lucasfilm and Disney, like, they are made of money, right? And like, this will still happen to their shows. Like, what does that say for everyone else? Like, what's the point? Nothing is thriving in this, and like, shows are being canceled before they are given a chance to even thrive. And like, I personally blame the 8 episode system per season. Why are we doing that? It serves
Money.
nobody.
Money. That's the answer.
Yeah.
And also attention spans, because people won't want. I agree with you. I think we both wanted it to be longer.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but I think the thing I would push back on it is when you say, like, I think 8 episodes is a problem, and I think that's something we should definitely address.
But even the run times of the episodes themselves. Yeah. Like, and what the fuck were we doing with 30-minute episodes for a live action TV show?
Well, I think some of it is, again, I think budget is a real concern. I have to give at least a little bit of acknowledgement to that. Mm-hmm. What I will say is the one piece of reporting which I found interesting was, after the first 2 episodes, the viewership dropped off a cliff. Because the first 2 episodes, and we talked about this when we talked about those episodes, the viewership was actually near like where it is for a typical Star Wars show. It was a little bit below Kenobi and Ahsoka, but it was like kind of above Book of Boba Fett and above some of those other things. I think it was around where Andor was, if my memory serves. Mm-hmm. But we knew this because we saw the criticisms. We talked about it on, these reviews. The people saying Star Wars can't be black, when I think every conversation we've had about Star Wars, every time somehow it gets connected to certain people on Twitter or X, certain, YouTube accounts. and just generally the discourse, the angry message, like rants and all this other stuff about how Star Wars can't look like this. By look, I mean literally like the people, right?
Which is ridiculous and silly, because if aliens and Twi'leks and all these wonderful species are allowed to exist in Star Wars, why can't a fucking black woman be the lead of a show?
Well, and we saw this again with Kenobi, right? Moses Ingram, who was the Inquisitor,
Mhm.
she was given death threats. She was she talked about people threatened her life. There was hate, so much hate for her, right? She wasn't even the lead. She was just a villain, an Inquisitor, whatever,
Yeah.
right? She
Yeah.
was like, that was her experience, right? We know crap, what's her name? Stenberg, the lead. She was like, she had went on The View and said, I was given death threats. It was painful. People were talking about my race and all this other stuff. Like we knew all of this was happening
Yeah.
because that's just what this, and it's not Star Wars fans. It's this small segment of people who are anti a lot of things. And we know they talk about this like this. We know this. We've seen it. We see it happen over and over and over again. We see the review bombing.
Yeah.
We
saw it
see
happen in The Last Jedi with Rose and Finn.
Correct. It's like people can see movies before they come out because they understand there's someone of a race there. And therefore it's not, you know what I mean? Like it blows my mind because we shouldn't be, like, the company shouldn't be making decisions based off that. And I do think the Acolyte suffered from, I think the reason the viewership dropped off was because there was a sense of, and I think the narrative, it was one of the few times where the narrative of this isn't for me, this is for people who don't, who look like other people, kind of caught hold, right? And I think it's ridiculous, first of all, but also second of all, this idea that, like, and we've seen this a few times. We saw it with the Marvels when it comes to Marvel, where there was just this feeling of, okay, they made this for the women, or they made this for the minorities, right? You know what I mean? And when that feeling takes hold, that's when you have these kind of, I guess, really bad situations, right? When people feel like this isn't made for me. And I think the mainstream, I think the general audience member does not give a shit about who the lead is, the color of the lead, the average person.
Yeah.
I think we can both agree with that.
Yeah.
I think the true, real Star Wars fans who like Star Wars for Star Wars don't give a shit about who the lead is.
Yeah.
The problem is there is a vocal minority who, if they can, impact, like, and sometimes because of how loud they are, they can impact the discourse, are able to basically get the average person to say, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to watch the show because it's not made, it doesn't, like, the way that people are talking about it is not made for me, right?
Yeah.
And that's the issue.
Yeah.
Now, did you see the change.org petition that came out after they canceled it?
I did, and I signed it.
I did too. And it is I believe at this moment it's at 40,000-ish over that signatures.
I think so.
It's at a very good number of signatures. But it, like, these are the things where, we knew that, like, this is a good thing, because what I think happened when it was canceled is people realized, oh shit, these people with this minority, this vocal, like the people who show up in the comment sections of our videos that when we review this, that's not the majority of people in, who have Disney Plus. That's not the majority of them. The majority of them, that's a very small minority of people who are very angry about everything. But, like, how can you make a Star Wars movie, right? And this is the thing that frustrates me. It's like this galaxy, and yet you're restricted by no people of color who can be in leading roles. Yeah. Nobody who is not straight can be in leading roles. Why? Because the second you do that, you're going to get hate. Honestly, you have to even limit how many women are in leading roles, because, again, if you do, you just know they're going to get hate. And then how many actors are willing to put up with that? How many people of color who are actors? How many women actors are going to be willing to put up with that?
Yeah.
It's not going to be because at some point it's just like, it's not worth it, No. And it's just so disgusting and disappointing and angering, in case you can't tell, that these are the people who keep winning, and the people that, like, how can you like just it's so wild to me. You cast a person of color in a Star Wars project and they get hate, death threats, called like, names. Like what the hell is going on where you cast someone in a movie, in a fictional movie
Mhm.
about a magical galaxy which doesn't exist, and they get death threats because the way they were born, they look different than the white person.
Mhm.
Like, just isn't it ridiculous?
It is.
Daisy Ridley, a straight white woman, got hate and anger. Brie Larson, a straight white woman. We're not like, we're even going beyond like, okay, people of color, which are, maybe I guess in a minority in a sense. These are like women, straight white, like they're like
These are women who
regular.
have more privilege than the others.
Well, and also like they're like standard, Hollywood level attractive women
Yeah.
who are being cast in role. Like these are not these are not like oppressed minorities. We're not like, we're just talking about women are getting these. Then you say, oh, let's put someone who's not straight and also a woman, or let's put a person of color and a woman. And it's like, how can you be an act like, if you want fair opportunities for actors, and if that's something that you and I'm not saying you necessarily, but I'm saying you as like a people who are potentially watching this, and you think there is too much, I guess, quote unquote diversity, forced diversity casting. Well, guess what? If you get it does, if you have any like, anytime you cast someone because, hey, they're just the best actor for the role, or they're the best person to play the part, even if that's your mentality, if you hate on the second that they're a person of color because you believe it's malicious or it's intentionally, to undermine people, or put an agenda. Like, I don't think the Acolyte was made in trying to be an agenda setting thing. I watched it and I didn't think there was some agenda being pushed on me.
No.
I saw Star Wars, I saw lightsabers, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't think I was being, indoctrinated into some sort of like cult. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I'm just going on rants, but
No, it is ridiculous.
like, imagine like, just think about yourself for a second. Like, if you were offered a role in Star Wars, right?
Mhm.
And you were like, it would be, I mean, it might for you because you're a fan be a no-brainer, but like for a lot of people, it would be like, oh, no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
The question is now, do you have to think about that? Like, is there gonna be a point where people say, I mean, I love Star Wars, I'd love to be in Star Wars, but then I'm just gonna be hated on constantly?
Yeah.
Like, that's not right. Like, again, if you want to level, like, we have leveled criticism at the Acolyte for things that they did. We did not agree. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I think when we reviewed them, we both said, hey, they could have done this better. They could have done this. I didn't think this was strong. It was a little cheesy here. Or there was I pointed out at least one plot hole with every episode.
Yeah.
Basically. Like, it's not like we just sat here and said, good job. Like,
Yeah.
people think we're being paid by Disney to be nice, but like, we would point out flaws. And but we didn't, I never said once, and I know you never said once, hey, you know what? The problem with this episode was they focused too much on the black character.
No.
Like, that wasn't something we thought about or said because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's totally silly. And just, I don't get why people have such an issue with that.
Like, and I don't like, and again, I'm going to be a little bit harder on Disney here because I think this is their moral responsibility. Not even moral. You know what? Screw moral responsibility, because that's not going to fall. That's going to fall on deaf ears. It's their business responsibility, regardless, to fight back for their own projects against the trolls. Do you know why? Because we know for a fact, this is true. We know for a fact that if it is set up in the right way, any project can be successful. Do you know why? Because we see it happen, right? When we look at Marvel, for example, we see Black Panther. Black Panther was amazing, did really well, made a lot of money. You know what? There was probably more of an agenda in Black Panther than anything Star Wars I've seen. And but the reason is, when you have people kind of put into a corner where they can't make these arguments, right? And when Disney actually puts in the damn effort and spends the money on advertising, where you actually fight against some of these ridiculous, almost like moronic tropes and like, you know, opinions, right? Because that's part of Disney's job as the people producing and then marketing this, is they have to fight back against this stuff, right? And if that means doing things like cutting off, you know, not letting people who are notorious haters of Star Wars or haters of diversity, you know, not giving them early access so they can't review it and start shitting on it before it even comes out, right? If that's what you have to, if it means running ads where you basically just show the story and you just say, look, this is something which is, you know, important to tell. It's a story. It's a good Star Wars story, right? Like highlighting those things. Disney's responsibility for not only to protect their actors, but also to make sure their shows, like it's Disney kind of does this, right? Where it's like, let's just put it out to fail and let's just see what happens, right? We're not going to go stand up. We're not going to make sure that the actors and directors are able to talk about it. No. We're just going to kind of put it out there and see what happens. They need to make sure there's an obligation for these people to directly go to these audiences as well, right? I would have, like, personally, if I was like running PR for Disney, I would have the actors actually go to some of these bigger like outlets that push this kind of nonsense and have them actually talk to these people, right? Because you have to, I think if you see, okay, well, they just like Star Wars, they're not really, there's no agenda, then suddenly you changing some of the mainstream opinion, which is being influenced by these trolls, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't just say, you know what, put it out there. If no one watches it, who cares? Half of Disney's job as a studio is to market the damn thing. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything to add on that?
No, I agree. I think that like the actors weren't protected. And like I don't know, I haven't looked, but I have heard that like just the comments on Amanda Stenberg's Instagram have not been good over the past, like when it was canceled. And I have been seeing people openly like laughing and celebrating and rejoicing in a show being canceled. And if that's you, fuck you. Because like genuinely from the bottom of my heart, like I don't care if you fucking hated the show's guts. I don't care if you didn't like anything it did. If you are celebrating hundreds of cast members and crew members and people who like, so you know, there are famous actors in the show, but there are also people who are just literally making their jobs, you know,
Right.
like in the writers room, like these people
Yep.
who are like crew members and truck drivers and the people who bring the food, like all of those people are just people who are trying to make money. And if you are openly rejoicing the fact that their show got canceled because like of some agenda you think that's being pushed, and you're laughing and celebrating about that when people are losing their livelihoods because of it, you're an awful person.
And that's the other thing, right? It's like, you know, some of our least favorite people on the internet are taking victory laps over, you know, and specifically a certain Twitter account, which we both, you know and disown as a Canadian, has been taking a victory lap over this, and you know, is attacking the people who are, you know, I guess defending the show, you know, putting out memes. I'm scrolling through his Twitter feed right now, and it is honestly some of the most disgusting things I've seen. And I think that, you know, again, you're right. That's the other thing which matters is when you laugh about a show being canceled, you're laughing at all the people who just got fired, like, you know, just lost their jobs. And that's what makes it even more disgusting. Is like you're taking this victory lap for the culture war that you're fighting, which doesn't exist because Disney's just trying to make money. And what you're doing is you're laughing at people who just lost their jobs because you are a troll. Like I'm going to be honest with you. I'm like 90% sure the people who worked on the Acolyte, you know, the vast majority of those people who are being, you know, vendors and you know, other various crew roles, and I'm sure they were not trying to push some ideological agenda on everyone. I think they're just trying to make some money. I think a lot of the actors who are in the show, I don't think they were really they didn't take the role to push an ideological agenda. I think they took the role actually because it was a job and they wanted the opportunity to show their ability to act.
Yeah.
Because typically speaking, that's why actors take jobs. Most
Yeah.
actors are not in the position where they can say, you know what, let's do some ideological agenda pushing. Most of them are like, I get the opportunity to act into something which is going to pay me. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's the reality.
Yeah.
And laughing at that is so twisted and fucked up. Like, I have no real. It's just it's so messed up.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, look, did the Acolyte, cost Disney money? Sure. Is there a world where, can I make the business case that it probably should have been not renewed? Sure. And it wasn't really canceled. More like we're not picking it up for another season. I think I can make the business case. I mean, I could, right?
Yeah.
We saw some of the numbers, like how many dollars it was. I think, lost $160 million per second. I think at the same time, canceling the show as they did, and also, by the way, so this is the other part of it. The headline, the first headline, I think it was a Hollywood Reporter first headline that had this. I don't think it was Deadline. It was or maybe it was Deadline. Hollywood had it
Either
second.
Deadline
Either
or
way,
Hollywood Reporter. I can't remember.
it was one of the two. And the headline that was used, and again, Disney has control over this, right? Disney is the one who sends out the press releases to the media who say this is what's going on, right? They have control over this. And the headline was Acolyte canceled. Not because, again, and I might be wrong on this, and if I am, I will admit I was wrong on this. I don't think it was ever picked up for a second season to begin with. And using a word like canceled instead of not renewed or any other version of that is also a little bit deceiving and a little bit of placating to the trolls, because what it implies is that there was ever going to be a second season, right? And so I think that's the other angle of this, which is when Disney's talking about what they did to the show, right? They're literally trying to placate the trolls by saying, look, we canceled this bad woke garbage, right? Like that's kind of the reason you would use that word instead of saying not renewed, not picked up, or whatever. And I think whenever you're pushing the word canceled, and it kind of has become a cancel culture word. Mm-hmm. And I think it's become very destructive. And so I think that's the other part of it is when you're messaging this, even the ending of this show, you're doing it in a way which feels, at least, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel very confident that they really did, did that intentionally to try to placate the trolls.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, this person is a complete disaster. Anyways, And look, I think the other thing which we should probably talk about is I was legitimately curious as to what happened with what was going to happen next.
Me too.
And I am very disappointed that we aren't going to see it.
Me too.
Like, I think from ignoring the whole terrible part of this and talking about, I guess, the quote unquote more positive part, my question for you is this. If Disney did want to continue this story, but they couldn't do it through this show, how would you suggest they do it in a way which we can kind of see what happened? And I guess have a follow-up, but also still be able to, find a way to move forward in a more cost-friendly way. And I have an idea, but I want to hear what you think.
I will take anything but a comic, because as a blind person, comics are not accessible, and Star Wars has not supplemented that with anything. Like with any of the comics, there's no like audible, like.
They really should have that.
They really should, and they don't. So like, I will take a book. I will take like whatever. I will take anything. Like, just not a comic. I will take anything else.
So I have an idea, and I thought about this. I've kind of built this pitch in my head. I want to pitch it to you now, and I want to see what you think.
Okay.
This is a way you can bring back the cast. The budget was too high. People, I think, collectively agree that there was clearly wasted money somewhere. I don't know where it would be. I don't have the actual sheet for that. Like, I don't have the detailed breakdown of how they spent their money. Mm-hmm. I think there is a very simple answer to this, and we've seen Star Wars do this before. Bring back the entire cast. Bring back everybody. Make it an animated show. And then, do you know how much money you're going to save? Tons and tons of money. Why? Because of this. As much as I like this being in live action, I do think there is a quality of animation, especially the way Star Wars has done it, which is being very, very compelling, right? I would argue that despite everything, I think their animated shows, especially the three main ones, Bad Batch, Rebels, and Clone Wars, are, you know, universally at the minimum, you know, respected and somewhat enjoyed, and at the maximum, you know, beloved by Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
I think if they decided, you know what, let's pivot. Season 2 of The Acolyte, or whatever we want to call it, we'll keep this story going. We'll bring back the cast. We'll do all that stuff, but we're just going to do it as an animated thing because clearly the viewers for the live action thing were just not there. I think that's fair. You know what? I would not like it. I think that is the best solution because you save so much money, right? I think you will get bigger pickup from general audiences if it's an animated show. And again, I don't understand why, but I think if the Acolyte started as an animated show, I think it would be watched by almost, like, I think it would probably be, you know, renewed for 6 seasons. Like, you know, like I think it would go on forever. I think there is just something about the fact that you could see the black person in live action instead of as an animated character, which just, you know, pissed people off. And I don't know why, but I think the animated show is the way to go with this. I think that's probably the best case scenario for this.
Yeah, I think that could work.
Like, I don't see any downside to it outside of, like, literally the, you know, like literally them just not wanting to continue the story because they're worried it's like the story is ruined, basically.
Yeah.
But I think that what I would do personally is I would continue it as an animated show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's yeah, I'm at a loss for words now.
Yeah. Just sucks.
I do hope that Disney does the right thing and they do end up bringing this back in some form. Either, again, if it's an anime show, yeah, it won't be great, but at least there you're giving some closure.
Yeah.
But I do have to say that it just really sucks when these trolls and these losers who will be gloating almost guaranteed in this comment section of this video. Because unfortunately, you know, Disney caved, and look, again, there was a business case for it, so it's whatever. But I think there's a way you can still keep, if there is, you know, I would rather like a visual medium for this, right? Or like some sort of more, like a little bit more of a continuous medium, which will be mainly just because I think an animated show will reach more people than a book or a comic will.
Yeah.
Just naturally, because obviously we know that the TV show, the animated shows reach to a very similar audience that the live action shows would. And I think more than anything, it'd just be a nice way to, like, you know, tell them to shove a sock in it and just, you know, like, it would be good. It would feel very satisfying because, like, a book, it kind of like relegates it to something else. And then it's like, also you've got all the High Republic book stuff already. And so it's like, I just think this would be better as a animated show. I don't see any reason why not. And I think I just hate when these stupid people win.
Me too.
I don't want to keep making this too long, but do you want to talk about the Skeleton Crew a little bit?
I mean, I guess I've only seen
the trailer. Is nothing, but
yeah, I'm just like really worried about these kids.
Yeah, the troll, and the problem is, it's not like these people are going to learn how to be nice.
No,
because they just got what they wanted, so they're going to do this again.
Yeah.
Right. Which makes it even worse because that's what you know they're going to do it again.
Yeah.
And they're more empowered to do this kind of harassment and trolling because it worked.
Yeah.
And so until you show them it doesn't work, they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And
these are children. Like, I'm concerned.
These are kids. And look, I hope that Disney does the right thing. I've got a hunch they're not going to do the right thing. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of bummed out now.
Yeah.
That was
there's a lot that we don't we have Skeleton Crew coming in November, we have Andor coming, and then like we have these movies coming out, we don't know when. But like really in the immediate future, there's not much to look forward to.
Well, they've apparently greenlit a bunch of shows that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, we just don't know what they are, and until they announce them, it's like, what, you know?
Yeah. Hopefully they don't get canceled too. I mean,
Yeah.
Anyways, with that being said, I have to run. I have a few things I got to do, but I thank you all for watching. And if you agree with us, how about you let us know if you think it come back as an animated show or you think this is disgusting and despicable. And if you don't agree, I mean, look, comment as well. Tell me why you think this show coming back as an animated show would be so bad for society, and how this is. And please, and also, actually, if you don't agree with me, what you can do, please explain to me how having this show exist is like indoctrinating into some cult. I really would appreciate that, because I still not clear on that. I've had a lot of arguments in the comment sections, but yet I don't quite understand how having a black Jedi is indoctrinating people into a cult of woke culture.
Yeah.
So let me know about that one. And also, if anyone wants to think they can out argue me on the Acolyte being, if you want to argue it's a bad show, I mean, I will welcome you on and I will destroy you. So, feel free to reach out. I am happy to welcome you on. It'll be your own, you're consenting to whatever happens on air, but I will happily have a conversation with you, a very polite conversation where you will realize that you're wrong and also a terrible person, probably.
Yeah, just leave your comments, because regardless, it boosts engagement.
Yeah, and also I will respond to everybody who comments, because I am a masochist and I will absolutely fight everybody on it. Yes, and feel free to comment on how I am a beta male and all that other fun stuff that they tend to do when they run out of arguments, which is just try to personally insult me, realizing that I have no clue what any of these insults actually mean, and so they're really harmless because, yeah.
And I don't read the comments, so.
And you probably shouldn't, for your own mental sake.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to know what people are saying about me.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them just comment on how bad I am at this, but it's okay. I accept that, and I will. Clearly, it's engaging enough for people to click on it and watch it. So
Yeah, that's good to know.
With that being said, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll talk again at some point. Maybe when they announce that it's coming back as an animated show, or when Disney comes out with a statement saying that they're wrong, or before that, because that will never happen. But yeah. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you enjoyed this, or if you hate it, subscribe as well. I think the best way for us
continue to hate us.
Well, I was gonna say the best way for me to know that you hated the show is if you subscribe. Like, that's what we should do. If you love the show, subscribe. If you hate the show, subscribe. Because either way, you can show your anger toward Disney by subscribing, and it'll send a message. Trust me. And also, you can dislike the video. That would be another way to show your anger toward Disney. Anyways, with that being said, I have to go. But it was great talking to you, as always. And I'm sure people enjoyed this. And by enjoyed, I mean absolutely hated and are already typing the angry comments. But it's okay. Anyways, see you all next time. Bye.